We already know what happens in failure, right? We learn a ton, or at least we can or should, and then we start reapplying. We don't start from scratch. We start from experience the next round. And so that's kind of what I did. I actually started making some money, and then I spent a lot of money. I invested a lot. In doing so, I realized what works, what doesn't work in my form of business if I want to help more people. And I had to realize that two things: I can't do everything myself, so I had to.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. As always, have an incredible gentleman for you today to provide massive value to you. And before I introduce him to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. And I want to ask you for a favor today. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some kind of feeling, some kind of value, some piece of information, the inspiration to go and take action, I want to ask you to share this with one friend. Since this is how we grow, this is how we're able to spread our message and motivate, inspire, and bless other men to change their lives. And while you're doing that, also like, subscribe, so that you can get notified and you won't miss another amazing and life-changing episode. So today I have Michael Marcial. He's a perfect blend of business and dad jokes. Michael Marcial is completely focused on the success of his clients, and for him, his clients always come first. And he will, first is his family, right? And then his clients, and will always ensure to live by his core values of excellence, integrity, and growth. Professionally, Michael has built and sold over several seven-figure businesses. Several seven-figure businesses, served over 2,000 clients, spoken on hundreds of stages with celebrities like John Maxwell, Ed Milet, Damon John, and others. And he currently helps coaches and speakers to save time and make more money by training and placing the world's best high-ticket sales closers into their businesses. And Michael is husband, father, entrepreneur, is crushing it. And Michael, I'm very glad that you're here, man. I'm very grateful for you being here and making time. So thank you very much for being here, and you are welcome, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. There's never enough platforms like this getting really good people together and talking about real stuff. So I super appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I like the focus of the brand. So I'm ready to dive in. I'm pretty fired up.
Awesome, man. So the first thing that I do with my guest is I tell them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
Okay. So clock's on. So number one, it sucked for a long time. It was very, very difficult. A lot of failure, and we already know what happens in failure, right? We learn a ton, or at least we can or should, and then we start reapplying. We don't start from scratch. We start from experience the next round. And so that's kind of what I did. I actually started making some money, and then I spent a lot of money. I invested a lot. In doing so, I realized what works, what doesn't work in my form of business if I want to help more people. And I had to realize that two things: I can't do everything myself, so I had to build team, and that was hard for me at first. And then number three, I had to focus on actually making money, not just the busy work or building things or doing stuff. I had to actually make money. And when I started to really focus on serving people and making money at the same time, everything else started to follow suit. The biggest opportunities of my life came from just doing those two things. And so now I just get to help more entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, to do more of that by looking at their systems and their sales process and team. So that's pretty much the journey.
Cool. So I like to start at the end. So like right now, right? So you've sold several businesses, several seven-figure businesses. So can we talk a little bit about those?
Yes, we can. Yeah. So this is one of those learning experiences. So one of the very first ventures when I was 19 years old, actually, I started a company with a friend of mine, and it was a passion project. So right before we started recording, we started talking about passion and purpose, and it very much so was one of those things. I was a kid, 19 years old. I didn't know any better. And so we built this company over 4.5, almost 5 years. And we never saw this coming. We didn't actually build something to sell it, but it was a cool business. We had good revenue, we had exposure, and we had a very unique product. And so just by my networking and meeting more people in the industry that I was in, we were approached by a much larger company than ours. And they casually, tossed out the fact that they are interested in partnering up or buying. And I was a kid, man. This is where inexperience and mentorship would have saved us and actually made us a lot more money. But they threw out an offer. We were all googly eyed about it. And we said yes. We effectively handed over the ship. And here I am, 24 years old, and I've got a chunk of money in my pocket. And I was like, hell yeah, I think I'm done for life. Like, I think I just did it. And that wasn't the case, man. Not only did we settled for something that wasn't really a great deal for us. But from that, I learned a lot, right? That was like an aha that there's opportunity everywhere, for us, we built an electronic drum set. That's what our product was. It was cool. I'm a drummer. We started getting a lot of traction on YouTube, millions of views later, and a ton of sales later. Now somebody's buying it. We thought we had it made, but that was my first ever venture. That was a lot of fun. And then that kind of catapulted me into, higher level consulting. And then now what we've been doing these last 8-9 years.
So you were a drummer. What was the product that you sold?
Electronic drum sets. So being a drummer, we want the flexibility of playing drums anywhere. And you can't just bring, an acoustic drum set, to an apartment, or it's just not the most practical all the time. So we actually built these electronic drum sets that looked like real drum sets. And that was the first product. It was kind of high ticket. Our average, investment for one of those kits was maybe $5,500, $6,500. And so little Mikey on the phone, just doing high ticket sales from a young age. I was just like, man, this is really cool stuff. You need it, right? If you can afford it, you need this thing. And they're like, all right, sign me up. And I was like, it was cool. It was a good first experience in business.
Cool. So from 19, and right now, like I want to dive deep into like how was a 19-year-old able to do this, right? And then like the qualities and the traits that you have to be able to do this from a young age.
Sure.
But like, what was the next business now after that?
So from there, and I'll kind of tackle what you just said, because we talk a lot about learning skill sets and delegating things you're not great at. Well, you can also learn a little bit more about yourself. Like there's a lot of self-awareness that needs to come with this. And I recognized that I was actually really good at improvising because I am a drummer, right? I can play anything, anytime, anywhere with any people. And I know that about myself. I can sit behind the drum set and I can just jam whatever style you want, bro. I got it, right? We'll just have fun. But I can also do that on like interpersonally, right? I can riff, I can have a good time, I can talk just about anything. And so that skill set actually was huge in understanding how to just communicate the value that we had to just about anyone. So, but having said that, what ended up happening from selling that business is I was looking for the next big thing. And there was an opportunity that came across my wheelhouse, and it was consulting these bigger companies on how to do exactly what I just did, which was build awareness online to bring paying customers. And so they were looking for somebody that could help them kind of navigate that transition from being a brick and mortar only to using the internet, using social media, using their online presence to bring more customers, more buying customers. So they hired me on. It was the most money I'd ever made in my life at that point. And it was also the most fun, like for a long time. But here's where the real story kind of kicks in. The parts where I said it sucked the most actually started to creep in here, because I was with that company for 4 years doing consulting, helping their company grow. And we did a very good job of that. But the sucky part of that was that I was really, imbalanced in my focus. So, I was heavy on work, low on family relationships, myself, spirituality, like everything else was second to that. And that doesn't work so well when you decide to bring a baby into the world. And so she entered the world, and that's when it really hit me. I was like, wait a minute. Every time I see my daughter, she's asleep. Like I'm working all the time. Every time I see her, her eyes are closed. Right. And so that didn't sit well with me, and actually launched me into this weird kind of sense of depression, honestly. And so, but that was the next venture. And it absolutely, that 4 years and really the final year of working with this particular company, really just changed my perspective on a lot of things.
So what age did you become a father, man?
Let's see. I would have been 27. No, I was 27, 28. I was just about to turn 28. Yeah.
So it's been, well, it was 4 years since you sold your company, right? Like the first one, the electronic drum set company. And now you're 28. Were you still like financially well off, or did you blow your money?
No, financially doing really well, and so here comes baby. Things are going really well, right? We've got plenty of money. We're making plenty of money. And about 9 months after that, I was just like, I can't keep doing this, right? I don't have any other skill set to change the dynamic of what I'm doing right now. I all I know is pedal to the metal, balls to the wall, work your ass off. That's all I know right now. And so I was like, without any other skill set or mentor or any other shift, I've got to change what I'm doing. If I really want to say and show with actions that I care about my family and my daughter, then I can't just keep doing this. I need to figure something else out. So that's what I did. I actually left the consulting position that I had for another 4 years and just tried to focus on family. And newsflash, over the next 2 months of leaving that position and focusing on family, I actually ended up going through a separation and eventually a divorce in the marriage that I was in. But it was the time and the space that I needed to realize that something was actually off. Why on earth was I working that hard, 80, 90 hours a week, right? Why did I choose to bring in a child into this world, but not also give that child all the love, attention, and affection I could, right? And so there was a lot of deeper stuff going on from my own childhood that I didn't recognize. I didn't understand the pattern until boom, it hit me right in the face.
I would love to dive into that, man.
Let's go.
So why were you working that hard?
It was a value thing. I didn't understand that I had intrinsic value as a human, right? As a man, if I'm not working and providing, then who am I? Right. And where did that come from for me? Well, it came from my childhood. I didn't have my dad in my life, seems to be a common theme with some of us. And all I saw was my mom working to provide for the family. And so when I was young, I was like 14, 15 years old, I would have a little job. I'd work at a restaurant, bussing tables on the weekends, hustling, making as much money as I can to pay bills, keep the lights on at home. And that's where my value actually started to stem. I was like, wait a minute, if I take this money and I give it to my mom, she loves me. Yeah. And that's like, everything's good. And like, I feel better about this. And from that moment on, it was just like everything all the time was just go, go, go. And chasing that dollar. And as we all know, you can chase as much money as you want. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that. But if you're doing it for just the money, we're missing a lot of the other side of that coin. And so that's what happened with me. I was just, now here I am, 27, years old, having a baby. And I was like, oh, damn. Well, now I didn't really leave much time or effort or attention for my family or myself or my daughter now. And it was all stemmed back from, I've got to provide. And if I'm not providing, I have no value.
Okay. So when you say, so what was the answer to the question? Why did I choose to bring a baby to the world? Well,
Yeah, it was almost the same thing. It was the same story showing up in different ways. Like, what was my value? My value was now giving my wife a baby, right?
okay.
And selfishly, I'm not saying it's wrong, but selfishly, I was like, you know what? I could be a really great dad. I've never had that experience of, having that father figure in my life. Like, I don't have a great model for that, but I could do this. And at the same time, to be completely honest, like, I was just kind of going through the motions, right? Get the job, marry the girl, have a baby, buy a house. Turns out most of those things at that time, were just me going through the motions. It wasn't anything else. It was just a mindless, well, I guess I've been dating this girl for a long time, so I guess we get engaged. So I guess we get married. And I guess the next step is we have a baby. Biggest blessing of my life. My daughter is my number one, equal to my wife now. And it's been one of those experiences of my life that has taught me almost everything that I've brought into business and life. The experience of just these big ahas that you could either sweep. I mean, trust me, I get it. Like, for the longest time, I would just sweep this stuff to the side. I'd be like, oof, I should probably look at that. I should probably dive deep into that stuff. And then I would just push it to the side and I would just kind of coast through life. But man, at some point you just got to wake up. You got to take ownership of what you're doing. And that's what I started to do. I was like, okay, my daughter's not going to grow up like I did. Like, she has her dad in her life and she won't know it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm actually here and we won't have a relationship if I keep doing that. So, I was going through the motions, but I think, God has a bigger plan for me and for my daughter. So she came at the right time. And, I've certainly over the last 10 years, she turns 10 this year. I've grown a lot, a lot of self-value, a lot of confidence, a lot of courage to go do the hard stuff that otherwise, previous Mikey would never even think about doing.
Yeah, that's really deep. I like that. So, man, based on when your relationship, right, going through the divorce and all of that, and like, a lot of people prefer the certainty that a relationship provides them, right? Like, the certainty that a relationship provides them. They're secure. They're in a nice, secure relationship, and they prefer the certainty over a fulfillment, or over like leaving that. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, they prefer the certainty in a relationship that doesn't make them happy gives them, than going out and like getting out of that relationship and like going and looking for the fulfillment, right? And stepping into the uncertainty of getting out of the relationship and looking for fulfillment, and actually looking for the person that will make them happy, right? Or that will actually fulfill them. So like, most people would rather stay in a relationship that is certain but makes them unhappy than getting out of the relationship and going and actually make themselves fulfilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got out of the relationship,
Yeah.
and I want to learn, man, like, how did that come to be? Like, why did you get out? Was it like certain? Yeah. Just, I don't know.
No, it's a great question, man. There's a lot to it. And I don't think I'm necessarily the most unique man that has gone through a divorce like this. But I will say, for me specifically, the one thing that kind of led that way is because I wasn't willing early enough in my life to recognize that I didn't know what I was doing. Right. I just was trying to make the best of it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is you just follow what you see, right? TV, your friends, the people in your close circles. And all I saw was that they date somebody, they eventually get married, they have a baby, they buy a house, and that's the road, right? That's happiness. That's what everyone else is doing. And so I was just kind of following along. But what was true for me at the time was that because I didn't necessarily see that as my path, it didn't feel like I was in alignment with that, and I was still going through it, there was this separation between who I was and...
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Real quick, do you want to know how I've been using my podcast to build a multi-million-dollar network with over 100 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, reach hundreds of my ideal clients with my message, coaching, service, and podcast, get invited to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months alone, go to my own events, and have over 100 successful entrepreneurs being willing to speak at my events, become a millionaire in 1 year, get mentored by multimillionaires, and achieve goals that I thought were going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year, and ultimately get unstuck and make quantum leaps of progress in my business and life with less than 1 hour of work just by being myself? If you answered yes to any of those, I just want to invite you to a free training showing you how I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar network that is helping me achieve bigger income goals faster with only 1 hour of speaking and just being myself. To be honest, I thought I was going to be a multi-millionaire, speak on stages, throw my own events, and live a successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and impact in 10 years from now. That seemed so far away, but my podcast has been able to help me do that in less than 6 months. I'm actually doing all of that this year at the age of 21 with my podcast. I'm reaching thousands of people with my message, my service, my podcast, my coaching. I've gotten booked to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months. And on these stages, I'm going to be getting in front of hundreds of my ideal clients, making roughly around 15 to 30K plus per event. Not only that, I have a network of over 100 high-level, multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs who have all agreed to speak at my events. Getting clients is a problem of the past. I've gotten the opportunities to learn from billionaires, and I'm collapsing decades of time, and I'm literally achieving what I thought was going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year. All of this because I use podcasting as a networking tool, and I leveraged a rare concept called the cloak track. And I want the exact same thing for you. Just imagine where you could be in 1 year from now if you get this free training right now. That is why I'm inviting you to this training. On this short training, you're going to learn how a small group of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, course creators, and speakers have combined podcasting with this rare concept called the cloak track to build a multi-million-dollar network, reach thousands of their ideal clients with their message, books, courses, coaching, make an extra $118,800, get booked on 10 stages, and build a successful network of entrepreneurs who speak on their stage, all of this in under 6 months. I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps to make this work. Step number 1, alignment. Getting clear on who you want to be, what you want to do, your goals, your purpose, and aligning all of this with building your podcast and your ideal podcast guest. Step number 2, leveraging the cloak track to find your ideal podcast guest and never running out of them. Step number 3, leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4, the content machine. The content machine is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. And I'm going to show you all of those 4 steps. The link to access this free training is in the description of this video. Click on it and go watch this training right now so that you can learn how you can too build a multi-million-dollar network that helps you achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. Note, this training is only available to 18 people, so act right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
What I was doing in the world, right? And so when I left my consulting gig, and I had this 2-month block of time that I was like, I'm dedicating to my family. I want to grow. I want to really focus on this thing. I realized 2 things. I started to really dig into who I was. I started doing a lot of personal development. It was the first time I actually read a book since high school at that point, or probably college. And my eyes opened up to what I really wanted to pursue, which was more of my own thing, my own business, my entrepreneurial drive. And I realized 2 things. One was that there's something, in my opinion, fundamentally off about how people choose to live life in this kind of cookie cutter, just blase, rinse and repeat, copy and paste kind of lifestyle. There's something not right for me there. And my now former wife actually didn't want to deviate from that. She wanted the certainty. She wanted those things. She wanted to keep doing that, and I was not interested in it at all. And so this fire got reignited in me to say it's okay to pursue what you actually want and get really clear on that first, and then fill in the blank. Right? For me, fulfillment actually came first. I was like, I feel fulfilled in pursuing this stuff, and it's so funny that when you actually start to fill up this self-worth and value tank, that all the other stuff that I would have tolerated in the past, like meaningless relationships, just hooking up randomly, all those things, they didn't start to, I didn't even go down that route. Okay. Like, it's easy when you're a guy and you're sociable and have some charisma to you, you can do anything you want. You can hook up all the time if you want to. I'm just talking as a single guy now. After my divorce, I was like, well, what do I do? And I knew up here, I was like, previous me, I would try to fill my time, my bed with any distraction that I could. Right. That was the truth for me. And I was like, but that's not where I'm at right now. Like I'm feeling on fire right now. And so nothing less than the right person would even equate, right? That round hole in a square peg doesn't work for me anymore. It's got to be the right fit. Relationship wise, I've got to be doing work I love. I've got to be hanging out and doing cool podcasts with people I actually want to be doing it with. I'm only going to be spending my time with those that I actually care to do that. No more living by default. It's time to design what you want. And so that's really what was going on. But the next year of my life, I'm going to tell you, man, was a grind. You know, it's easier to say that, hey, I've got this fire, I'm lit up, I'm ready to go, and then start a business and go through a divorce and try to figure yourself out. And so that year was trial by fire. You know, it's a real refining process for me.
Okay. So most people are living by default. They're living lives by default instead of by design. So what made the shift for you? What made you become aware that you were living by default? And then how did you start to change it?
Oof. You want the real story?
Yeah.
Okay. So the real story is that, so I go through my separation. I get this fancy apartment. That was my one thing. I was like, you know what? I want to feel good about where I'm living. I made some money from going through the divorce and selling the house and all the stuff. And I got this really nice apartment. But what I wasn't doing and what I neglected to look at was the fact that I still had a lot of work to do. It didn't matter how excited I was about life or trying to figure out the rest of whatever life was going to look like for me. I wasn't really doing much. I stopped working, right, to focus on family. I wasn't really interested in pursuing a job, so to speak. And I really stopped to take a pause. But over that year, I also neglected one thing, and something that I had never learned about was mental health. Okay. My mental health actually started to decline while I was trying to figure out all this other stuff. And I equate this to a phrase that I had heard before. It's roughly, if you know better, but don't do better, it's the same as not knowing better. Right. And so I knew that, hey, people take care of their mental health. That's all I know. But I didn't know what to do about that. And I didn't know that I was really suffering upstairs here. And over that year, my mental health declined to the point where I wasn't making any more money and my bank account was dry. Right. I didn't really care about that because I was busy just trying to start my business and get excited about life. And I was, about a year later, I was evicted from my apartment and I was sleeping in my car for about almost a month in the middle of winter here in Utah. It's cold out here. Yeah. And that was the aha, because that was my rock bottom. When I was sleeping in my car the first night, I looked at myself in the rearview mirror while I was sitting in the car and I was just like, damn, bro. So this sucks. That's number one. And then number two is an instant aha. I was like, you know what? If you can create such crappy results in your life, you can either keep going down this route, and we don't know what that looks like. It's probably really dark and really messy. Mm-hmm. Or if you're this strong, if you're this powerful and creative to create these negative results, could you possibly create the exact opposite? Could you still use that strength and that ability to create a mess and create something amazing? And I had to own it. I was like, yeah, I'm sleeping in my car now, but what else do I have to lose here? Right. I've lost my pride, my ego. I don't have the time to be ashamed or guilty about this. It's just time to go. So that was the wake up call that I experienced. And it was really from that moment that I decided I was going to leave it all on the table and go hard at it.
Damn. All right. So then, okay. So what did you start then? Did you start like high ticket sales? What did you do?
It was low ticket sales is what it was. So at the time I was like, okay, what can I do? I need to make some money. That's what I need to do. Okay. I can't, there's no pretending that everything's okay. I need my bank account to reflect what I'm capable of. And so I just started reaching out to my network, right? A big currency is our network. And I started reaching out and saying, hey, I know I can help you with branding, websites, social media stuff. I've done a few $1 million in online content. I could probably help you launch courses. And my friends were like, yeah, like how much do I need to pay you? And I was like, okay, I'm going to swing for the fences. And I was like sweaty, nervous to ask them for $1,000 each. And literally everybody's like, yeah, I'll pay you $1,000. Let's go. Help me out. And so I'm like, hell yeah. So I got like 5 clients that weekend. And I'm like, okay, I'm in business. And so what I did is I just proved my worth with those guys. I got some really great testimonials, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Honestly, I was kind of clueless at the time. Imagine this, a college dropout whose only real experience is just helping people online. And it's a very, at that point when I was, because I'm an older dude now, almost 38 at the end of this year, nobody was really like, that wasn't a huge value add for people. They were like, okay, cool, let's do that. And so that's what I started doing. And so I made $5,000 that weekend. And I was like, okay, I need to prove that I can crush this thing. And then I'm going to build this thing out. I'm going to add some value to this. We're going to make it a thing. And so that's what I did. That was 9 years ago, something like that. So, but yeah, so since then, my prices have increased a little bit. And there's a couple zeros added and a lot more value and a lot more knowledge and wisdom and experience.
Cool. All right. So what is it that you do now?
Yeah. So take that first concept of like, hey, I just want to help you online. That's what I want to do. Okay. Fast forward 9 years. Now what we do is all of the systems that typical entrepreneurs don't look at, like most entrepreneurs like yourself, when you look to help somebody build out podcasts and systems and things like that, it's because they've never done it. They're really good at their content and their craft, but how do I get my podcast out there? Like that's a whole different skill set, whole different ball of wax. They don't need to be doing that, right? Mm-hmm. That's where you can come in. You can actually help them do that. So for me, when a coach hits me up and says, hey, we just cracked $1 million. Okay. I barely made it with the small team that I have, and we have no repeatable process for this, and we need to scale. Well, now we start talking about the system, right? The engine that allows them to build out repeatable processes, build on team, have the right players on their side so that they can actually hit some bigger goals. So most of our clients are doing fairly well. I mean, $1 million I think is really cool. But at that point, they need the systems and they need the team to be able to grow this thing out. So what we do is we actually, it's DFY. We're going to do it for our clients, build out the systems for themselves, for our client, teach them how to use it. We install team to run the ship for them so that our client can focus on their superpower, as we would call it, which is usually their coaching or however they're delivering content. You mentioned closers. We have a huge pool of high ticket closers that are in our super closer program. About 1,300, almost 1,400 members in that private community. And we train them to be lethal in the process that I've developed to do high ticket sales. So 5K and above for coaching courses, masterminds, that kind of stuff. So we build it out. We build the ship out for our clients that are just like, hey, I built this thing and I don't know how. I need something. I need a vehicle built into this thing so I can actually, ride off into the sunset. So we do all the nerdy stuff.
Okay. So, alrighty. So for like the super closer stuff, man, you have a couple of, how many you said?
Like almost 1,400 closers.
1,400 closers, all of which you taught how to close, right? How to like sell high ticket stuff and close. So you're like a sales staffing agency, sort of?
Yeah, that's what, people call us an agency all the time. And I might as well call it that. But I like to do things differently. There's a lot of agencies out there that are willing to tell you, hey, we're really good at this and we're amazing. We're going to like staff and recruit somebody amazing for you. And we are so confident in that you have to pay us money up front to do it. For me, that doesn't breed confidence. Like the most confident people I know that I do a lot of work with, we do work for each other and we get paid because we know our stuff, right? And so when it came time for me to bring on closers of my own, I actually went to a couple of these agencies that most of us maybe have heard of. And I was like, all right, man, like we're scaling, like I need somebody to take these calls off my plate. What does that look like? And they're like, oh, dude, we're so good that you have to pay us up front. And I was like, okay, interesting. And so when I'd reach out to their clients, they're like, yeah, it's not as great as they say. And I'm like more like a sales manager and trainer than I am anything else. I'd much rather be doing my business. And so I was like, ooh, opportunity. So this is like 2 years ago, we actually launched Super Closer, as we call it. And the premise of it is that you don't need to pay us or much upfront at all for us to give you and onboard and train a closer for you. We're going to make money on commission only on the back end. And when I started telling people this, they're like, well, that's insane. And I was like, well, yeah, it's number one, I don't need your money, right? Our organization does not need your money. I make plenty of it. Everyone else is taken care of. We don't need your money. We need your result, right? We want the outcome. And I want to take all that risk off your plate, Mr. or Mrs. Coach that's maybe doing 500K or $1 million. And you honestly at that amount, you don't have 20 grand just sitting around not doing anything. You're building and growing. So you're usually cash poor at that point. You're putting it back into the machine. You're not going to go pay some Joe Schmo that's been closing for a few years to go, put a closer in your system. It just doesn't work very well. And so we decided to break that model down and improve our worth a different way. And it's now blowing up. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sounds interesting, man. Okay. So what do you mean when you don't get paid up front? So like, how do you get paid?
Yeah. So we there's two ways that we operate. If somebody's doing over a certain dollar amount of business, what we'll do is we'll just say, hey, we're going to staff a closer for you, and we're going to make an override commission from their results, from their closes. So if they suck and they are terrible, you'll never pay us a dime and we'll part ways. But having said that, after almost 2 decades of being in business for myself, I know that we can pump out some pretty great results. We're kind of good at this. And everyone that we place follows our same approach for high ticket sales. And so with that, we allow them to pay us a small override on top of whatever commissions they're going to pay their closer. And it's a small percentage, it's usually around 5%. And so they're like, wait a minute. So I'm going to pay a closer a percentage anyway, but you're saying I can pay you a little bit more. You'll do all the hiring, onboarding, training, staffing, support ongoing. And I don't have to do any of that ever. And if this relationship doesn't work out with this closer, you'll get me another closer forever, is what you're telling me. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Save your dollars. Let me prove it with our result, not you pay me and it's a transaction and you got to do stuff on your own now. It just doesn't work. That agency model is old and it's broken, and it's a cash grab because, hey, if I can make you $1 million as a closer, why not pay Joe Schmo 20 grand to have me on your team, right? It logically makes sense, but I'm telling you, it just doesn't work that great. It's a lot more work on the back end.
Okay. Awesome. So man, it seems like you've never had a problem to make money.
The money part is not a hard thing for me. Right.
Okay. So what is there like, what do you see gives you that ability because for a lot of married entrepreneurs with kids, right? Like the main problem that they have is like money. That's like the most like painful, the problem that is the most felt, right?
Yeah.
And out of those 4 areas, like that is the one, like the money is the one that seems to like, how can I say this? Like flashing the most, right? Like the ones that is seen, that is felt the most.
Yeah.
So, and you seem to, it sounds like you've never had a problem to make money. So, can you, I don't know, maybe give us a little bit of insight on.
Yeah. I honestly, it's never a money thing. I think it's always a mindset thing. There is too much money in the world right now. Literally, in the States, we print off money like it's candy. You're right. So it's not like there's no money around. And it's always, it's in my opinion, almost 98% of the time, it's a mindset thing. So for me, when I wasn't making money in my life and business, it's because this was all out of whack. Right. So I'm recently married about 6 months, 7 months now. And one of the things that we talked about when we first started dating was finances, money, things like that, anything revolving around that. Why did I do that? Why did we both choose to do that? It's because we wanted to know that we were on the same page. So we talked about, well, what happens, if we decide to do a business together, how do we want to handle that? How would you see that working out really well? We talked about how we use finances and who should be more, owning the financial side of our relationship and things like that. It's one of those things like I get almost too logical about problem solving and things like that. So when I think about making money, I'm just like, well, what problem can I solve right now? Okay, I'm really good at these things. This is a natural talent and a gift of mine. Is that something that somebody would exchange value for, in the form of dollars? And, the answer is always yes. I'm going to tell you, like, we have some clients that are like, they teach people how to be a DJ, or like they're a personal chef and they teach people how to cook, and they're making so much money. But all it takes is just one, knowing that whatever you've got, it's valuable. And number two, this is probably the harder part, executing on the vehicle that gets you to that exchange. And so that's why systems and team becomes really important for me, because that is my gift. Building out the systems and the nerdy stuff on the back end of that, automations and things that allow your business to run smooth, putting in team, all of those is just logic for me. And if I want to scale something without having to dump a ton of money into that, can I be the person to build something like that for my client so that more people can win? Well, the answer is yes. Right. And so my superpower, as it were, I put that on loan for my clients, because again, when we talk about like delegating things that you're not great at, well, not everybody's great at making money and coming up with solutions, but I am, and I like to install that into my clients so that they start winning. Right. So I think it's a skill set, and it is potentially something that you're even born with, just looking at problems, solving problems, creating a way to show off a value exchange. And then that's it. But I like to just do that for my clients. Hey, be an awesome coach, be an awesome whatever you do. Let me make you some money. Right. That's all I care about. That's why my clients kind of love what we do, because we do take that flashing light. We hit the button, we snooze that for a second, we build out some things, and they don't look at that button again.
Okay, cool. So that they can focus on what they do, and then you focus on like the sales, right?
Yep. Build it out. Make sure your offer is awesome. Make sure that there's an actual value exchange that's clear for your audience, and put somebody in place to take all those calls. Make sure the team is doing their thing so that you have plenty of leads and have somebody closing those deals for you.
Do you do marketing as well, or no?
Not really. No, not really. We have some partners that do lead generation and things like that, but it's not something that we focus on in-house.
All right, for sure. Awesome, man. So, man, we have like 5 minutes, and I close my interviews with 5 questions. So, the first one is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? Like, not redo your life or change anything like that, right? No regret. Just give your 20-year-old self some advice. What would that be?
Yeah, this is a good one, man. It's a really good one. So if I'm looking at 20-year-old Mikey, I would actually reconfirm something for him that he, doesn't matter what he's trying to pursue or any of this other stuff. He's on the right track. Young Mikey had a steel trap of a brain. And sometimes he put that to the side and he tried to do everything else, but turns out his natural innate abilities, that was going to get him to the finish line, not almost anything else. So I would probably just reconfirm that, like, who you are is what it's going to take to get to the person, or stature or winning that you want.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So like you said, there's no regrets, right? But deeper than that, like if I were to look at myself at 20 years old in the face, I'm like, Michael, who you are right now is not wrong. It's not bad. You are going to grow. That is your mindset. You will grow. Okay. You don't necessarily need to worry about that, but who you are as a person, you are a freaking rock star, and you're going to take it to the finish line. I think 20 years old, I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of like, gosh, I have some strong suits, but I don't know if that's enough. No, it turns out it's enough. And that would eventually lead me to the point where I'm actually crossing some finish lines. I'm actually attaining some goals. So I think I would have eliminated a lot of the doubt and self-talk and, just the negativity that I placed between my ears and just said,
which is unnecessary.
Yeah, it's all clutter. It's all noise.
Yeah, awesome. So the second question is around mindset. What is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
I don't have to do everything on my own. Yeah,
that's a big one, man. Let's just let it sit for a little bit.
Let it simmer right there, marinate. Like you build this baby, you make a baby, and then how comfortable do you feel just like handing the baby over and just being like, all right, take care of the baby, like for me, that's how it felt for the longest time. And so I've had to get really good at trusting myself to trust other people to take care of the baby.
Man, it's crazy, man. So, like I have a few clients with my business now. And did I told you what I do? I told you what I do, right?
Yeah.
So like I literally systemize the entire process, right? And I have like people in place and stuff. I went from like doing everything myself to like not doing anything. And today I had a meeting with my team. We have a few clients and stuff. And I was like, all right, so give me some feedback. All right, are there any problems? And there were no problems, man. I was always like, I spent like our 30-minute call just talking about personal stuff and just like having fun because there were no problems. I was going crazy. Are you sure there's no problems? There's no problems to solve right now? Because right. Man, like the system is doing good and it doesn't need me. Like I'm actually like a handicap to the system, a handicap to my team.
Yeah.
And like they know what they're supposed to be doing. Step 1 is systemized. Step 2 is clear and systemized. Step 3, step 4, everything. And they're all doing their job. And I'm like, they're trying to like take problems out of them because like, I just want something to solve.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
Well, that's the thing. You solve the biggest one. How do you not become the bottleneck? You know what I mean? That is the biggest one. And so if you focus on one problem, it's like, how do you stay out of being the bottleneck? How do you keep hands off so that the machine keeps going?
And how do you do it?
It's trust. A big one for me is trust.
Trust. Just let it be.
I have
right?
a deep sense of faith too. So like when, our CEO now, I just appointed the CEO a few months back, and it hit me one day. I was like, this is the right guy. He's got the right skill set, the right mindset. He's hungry to grow something. Well, I am too, but I can't be hungry to grow 9 different things that I've got going on.
Yeah.
Right. I can be hungry for it, but if I split myself 9 different ways, guess what happens? Right. Doesn't work out so great. And so I recognized he was the right person. I brought the opportunity to him and he was like, that I am down for. And he's just been taking off. He brought on an ops guy. And he's
how do you pay a CEO? Do you pay him like a percentage, commission, salary?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good question. If we were a much larger company, I would absolutely give him a salary and, and some equity probably as well. But having said that, he works on the commission of what we're already generating from those override commissions from our other clients. So he's eating off of a pretty good little chunk.
Okay. Got it.
So, and this is a very unique model, but this is part and parcel of what we're talking about. Like we built Super Closer, as we call it, specifically to show results for our clients. So when my client's doing $7-8 million a year and they're paying me 5% of that, well, that adds up to a good bit. When somebody brings us on that's doing $18-19 million a year, giving us a percentage of that, there's money in the tank. There's stuff flowing through. And we every single one of us in that particular company works off of a commission. Now that'll blow some people's minds. You don't have to hire, 9 people on at a 6-figure salary to have results. You can build something very different. And that's what we've done here. And so when I told him the numbers and this is your cut, he was like, sign me up, Michael, I'm in. And he's just been crushing.
And now you don't have to do anything.
I'm doing a training tonight at 7:00 for an hour. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
All I do, man, is speak the entire day. Like it's just talk to people, build relationships, see how I can serve. And I think you mentioned to that, like serving and making money. Yeah. Serving and making money. Right?
Impact, income. Let's do it at the same time.
Third question, mindset map. So the mindset was you don't have to do anything yourself. Right.
Yeah.
So for all entrepreneurs out there, hire someone, right? like build systems and stuff, and then like give that to someone else. Awesome. Map. So do you have any advice, like tool, tactic, strategy for people who need clarity in their life, clarity on who they are, what they want, where they're going, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Clarity for me, everyone's different, but I'm going to show you something here. So I think it's pretty cool. Let me see if I can get into this. So for me, clarity comes, if there was a tool, there is a map, it's got to start up here. Like I've got to be really clear mentally and emotionally, like those two for me. If I get stumbly on either one of those things, everything else starts to get really slow.
Mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, those two for me anyway. Like if I have some sort of emotion around something, oof, I get I ruminate. I think over and over and over on something, not consecutively. Like I'm not going to sit here and just like pace on it for an hour and a half.
But it comes back and it haunts you.
Yeah, I'll think about it right now, and then when we're done here, I'm going to think about it again for another 5 minutes. I'm going to think about it tonight before bed for 5 minutes.
And it drains you.
That. It drives me crazy. I get drained, and it feels like that's all I could ever think about. That's me. Okay, so
it's like when you lie. Like I can't lie to anymore. Like once you clear all your lies and you stop lying, and then you lie, it's like you have that lie. You're carrying it right until like you let it go.
Every time I think about it, it's like a brick in this huge bag of bricks. And I'm like, this gets heavy after a while. Okay. And so I'll show you this. There's an app that I use, or I have been using for about a month now, but it's the same kind of idea as everything else. It's called Stoic, STOIC. I think they have an app, Stoic app. But this app in particular allows me to get my thoughts out of my head into one location and also make a plan accordingly. So one of the questions it often asks is, what's driving you today? Love, fear, or anxiety? And it always puts some things in perspective, because the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, well, why would it be anything else other than like love or something positive? That's not always the case. Sometimes I'm like, shit, I gotta like there's this big hairy thing chasing after me, and I just don't want to get caught by that. Right? That fear and anxiety, that's what is actually my motivator. I've got to be clear and honest about that. And so when I can get out of my brain and put it down, and I'm a digital person, I do have a couple of, actually, I don't know if I have it around here. We just moved. So this is like my makeshift office. My office is still getting put together over there. But I am also a pen and paper kind of guy. I use the high performance planner by Brendan Burchard as well. But the Stoic app, it's right there with me. It sends me alerts, keeps me on my toes. When I can get it out of my thoughts, now I've freed up a lot here, and it affects my emotions too. So, that map, if I can give you a tool, get something that you can put your thoughts and your feelings and a plan, to overcome or to leverage those things for your betterment. But have a plan for this thing up here.
Okay, nice. The last one is around measuring and tracking. Mindset, map, motion. Actually, no, motion. It's a habit. What is a habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success? Habit.
The habit, there is one that I can think of, and it revolves around consistency. I think I'm fairly consistent. And so there's a couple of habits, but I would say in the morning, it's a very similar routine if I can help it every morning. I like to have some time to breathe in the morning. I'm not the guy that's going to wake up at 4:30 necessarily, but when I do wake up, I give myself a little breathing room so I can fully wake up, I get my mind right. And then almost every single morning it's like a ritual to make it, but I make a superfood coffee in the morning. And that's like my thing. I get to brew the coffee, and I get to get the stuff that I put into the coffee, and it tastes really good. And it's kind of like my reward for like being there and like getting ready for my day. And so for me, that like, it really does help my mindset, just to know that like I've conquered that thing, and it's something I really, really enjoy. And it kind of I leverage that over the day. And just like, if I start this way, I know the rest of it's going to follow suit every time.
Nice. All right, cool. A nice grounding habit. Cool. The last one is around measuring and tracking. So what do you think around measuring and tracking? What are your thoughts on that?
What gets measured improves, so if you're not willing to measure it, if you're not willing to measure it, you'd also aren't probably interested in it growing, so it's a big thing. I am a numbers person. but it doesn't always have to be numbers and cash and revenue. And
I track my emotions, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I have this big ass calendar by Jesse Itzler.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can see the entire year at one glance.
Yeah.
And I track my emotions, which I'm really happy about. Actually, do you happen to know who Peter Sage is?
Peter Sage? I don't know if I know that name.
Man, amazing, man. Like you should, I don't know, but like he's changed my life. Peter Sage, coach. He's all about like self-mastery, and like he was a trainer for Tony Robbins for over 15 years.
Got it.
And so like on this calendar, right? Last year, like my average month out of 30 days in a month, 28 days out of those 30 days in a month, I was like depressed, doubtful, fearful, just negative, right? And like it's colored. Like have you seen like that little triangle with like the emotions?
I've seen it. Yeah. Right?
It was purple. Like literally my entire fucking month was purple. 28 days out of 30 were purple. And then this, started working with Peter Sage in like Christmas. I remember I bought his stuff in Christmas. He has a mastermind and in course and stuff. And then January, 17, 20 out of 30 days were like purple, right? So the rest were blue and green. Blue means on fire and green means positive, right? I'm having a nice day.
Yeah.
February, 11 days out of 30 days were like, purple, right? So, and then March, 2 days out of 31 days were purple,
let's
man.
Go.
And like all of the days are like blue. So like I'm feeling on fire every single day on my purpose, like passion, significant, purpose driven, significance driven, and just trying to become, based on growth and contribution, I'm trying to become the best version of myself as I help others do the same. And right now it's like it's April 11. I have like 8 blues. Like I'm just feeling on fire every single day. And actually no, it's like green. Most of my days are now green because now my blues have become my greens. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And I track my emotions. Yeah.
Bro, what gets measured improves 100%, man. Like,
so man, thank you very much for being here. I really like what you're all about. I like the super closer and everything that you got going on. What else can you help people with apart from like giving them the best sales, like the best closers in the world?
Bro, I got some sick dad jokes. Okay. Like that's another superpower. Like I'm the quirkiest, like you don't like, you're like the face you're making now. That's what people usually have at the punchline of the joke. Like, oh yeah, that was good. Yeah. Real good. And then they leave and that's it. But no, there's a lot outside of what we do there that, potentially could be useful, but I just really love connecting with people, like really good, growth-minded people that, typically are interested in business and entrepreneurship. Those are my people, right? So I just love connecting on Instagram, Facebook, things like that.
All right. Is there any other place? We'll put all your links and stuff. Is there any other place that you would like to for people to find you?
Not really. I don't send people to our website. Please don't go there. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. There's testimonials and things, but what I like to do, this is my approach. We like to connect with our client one-on-one, so if there's somebody that actually wants to have that conversation, don't go to my website and take a freebie and then get on my email list. Cause that's just that's not what we're about. We're about connecting with people 100% of the time. So just connect on social. That would be the best. I mean, whether business or you just think I'm a cool guy, like let's connect there.
Awesome, man. Well, I've really enjoyed this, man. Thank you very much. And that's it. If you have anything else, well,
that's it, man. Just honored to be here. Thanks for setting this up.
Thank you for watching the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms